My parents had a bakery, they had a business, and the goal, the wish of my father for me was to be an accountant so I can help keep the accounting of the bakery. So therefore, before I had much agency in my life, when I went to high school, I kind of had to go wherever they wanted me to go, and I went to a accounting high school. So I have some knowledge about how to keep books and how to do all of that, which is very handy now in my in my job, that I can understand all of that. But yeah, so that was the path that my parents wanted for me. And also, I played volleyball for 8 years. I was in the Romanian national team, and that was another path possible for me, like be a professional athlete. But yeah, like I mean, so much admiration for people who can become professional athletes. That's a life, and I couldn't do that life. It was again just sleeping, training, eating, sleeping, eating, training, sleeping. Is nothing else. And I was like, I want something else. And so yeah, it was a lot of back and forward with especially my father. Like when I gave up volleyball, that was a big crisis. When I said I don't want to do accounting anymore, I want to go to psychology, it was a big crisis. I don't think they cared necessarily that I wanted to do psychology. Yeah, it was not useful to them. No, not useful for the business, for the family business. So that was like, that's kind of useless. Like, why should I support you to go to school for something that is not doesn't bring a benefit back to the family? So that was a calculation there. I don't think they knew what psychology is, what can you do with it as a profession, or they never asked me why do you want to do psychology. That was too deep for what their interests are. Their interests were like, have a business, it would be great if children can help with a business. You choose something that is not helpful for us. So the accent you are hearing is coming from Romania. I'm originally from Romania. I discovered early in life what I like to do. I realized that people are interesting to me. I'm not so much into pets or nature. Nothing wrong with pets or nature, just not for me. For me, people are the thing. And that's how I discovered that there is a thing called psychology. And then I realized that we are going to wake up every day of our life and go to work. And that blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to work every day of our life. And I realized that there is this thing called organizational psychology. And then I decided that that's what I want to do. I want to help these people who wake up every morning, go to do their jobs. I want to help them not to have a stomach pain, when they wake up in the morning. I want them to be better equipped to handle the work ahead, to how to handle themselves and others and interrelation, and how they think about what they can do and all of that. So yeah, very happy that I discovered this profession of organizational psychology. And after 20 years of doing it, now I'm mainly focusing on coaching. I think coaching is the shortest way to help that person wake up in the morning without a stomach pain. There are other ways of doing it, but I think coaching is the most effective way.
When you grew up, what was your first dream about the future work that Irina is going to offer to this world?
Okay, I'll start answering very far away that question. We'll see where we go. Living in Romania, I was 11 years old when the communism failed in all the Eastern Europe. I found myself being very lucky that I was just 11 years old. So I didn't actually feel how easy to live under the communism. I remember very little. I remember the electricity problems, again, doing work at the candlelight or staying in line for food. But as a child, this is just like normal. Like you don't overthinking. Like, hey, I have to stay in line. I have a coupon. I have to get my bread. Like, sounds dramatic now, but then it was not. It was just what we were doing. Very lucky that I did not get to live actually I didn't understand actually what was happening. So after the communism fell and I started growing up a little, and I learned a little more of what was happening during the communism. I think one of the things that really shocked me the most was the lack of free speech. So you couldn't speak your mind, so that to me was shocking, and I was so impressed by these people who didn't care about that, and they did spoke, and they did wrote letter, and they did oppose the regime, and they did end up in prison, and they did die, many of them. So I was very, again, looking back, this idea that you cannot be yourself and you cannot say whatever comes to your mind freely without repercussions, that over time became one of the things that became very, very important to me. Like, how do you feel free in this world, and represent yourself, and not being worried that what you are going to say is going to come against you. And again, during the communism, even amongst friends and family, you need to be careful what you're saying, because you never know who is going to go to the secret services and report you. So again, very hard times, a lot of trauma after almost 50 years of communism as a country, like for Romania. Again, me, very little portion of that, I was actually living it and aware of it. So just looking back, I'm thinking how many generations were messed up because they were born in the wrong place, the wrong time, and how lucky I was that I didn't do that. And I know that I'm talking about Romania now, but I know there are other countries in the world under a lot of conflict and problems right now. So it's such a accident that we get born, when we get born, and where we get born. And we should, those of us who are more privileged and are lucky that way, we should enjoy life a little more and be grateful for what we have. So I'm saying all of this, I don't know if it informed my profession necessarily, but it informed my way of thinking about the world, and me traveling, living in Spain for a while. Now I'm living in US. Life is full of possibility, the way I think about it, like there is really no reason for somebody like me to ever complain, be stuck, be lost, be like, no, there is somebody like me has all the resources in the world to go through this life with joy and happiness. And I wish that for more people. I know that you mentioned that from your interviews, not everybody found earlier. Sometimes people don't ever find what is it for them, so that's what this profession allows me to do, to help more people find what is it for them. So help them go through this life with a little more ease, a little more peace of mind, like doesn't worse it, all this struggle and all these troubles that we are creating in our mind, when actually we do live in a pretty safe place, many of us, and we are able to put food on the table and all of that. So can we enjoy it a little more while we are here?
At early age, I love to hang out with friends. I love to eat food. I love to travel. I love to, go to the zoo or something like that. You enjoy knowing people. So since when you realize that? At what age?
Yeah, so I'm an introvert. So people is not necessarily a top of mind or a need. Like, I don't need people. I don't need to be with people. I'm fine in my head by myself. If you put me in a room for weeks, I can stay there by myself and entertain myself. But there was something, as I said earlier, like nature, pets, other things, not interesting to me. Like the complexity of humans, it's interesting to me. Like people are so messy and complex and complicated and so many variables. And I think probably I'm just hypothesizing because I don't remember the moment when it happened. It was just interesting to me to understand how can we try to predict a little more about what these humans are happening, what they're going to do next. And again, we can hypothesize so much now, like why I needed to control a little what, like again, maybe historical and family and personal things that wanted me to understand a little how this human actually function. And initially I was actually thinking about sociology as a career. I was like, okay, sociology has to do with masses of people. And maybe that's again, maybe more because of the history was I was living. But then I don't know, I care about one person at a time. I care about humans one by one, not about masses. So I remember, the only thing I remember is, I remember exactly was where I was walking with one of my childhood friends, and we were talking about like, hey, where are we going to school? Where are we going to college? What are we going to study? And we were actually talking about sociology. I heard there is a stuff called sociology, but this is about the groups of people. And then I think there is other thing called psychology, and both of us decided to go to psychology. But I remember exactly the alley where we were and having this conversation, and we decided that we want to do psychology as we go to college. So, but yeah, it was just more like people are interesting, and we wanted to learn more about how these humans function.
Bring me to a day when you were little and have that interest on human, the complex of human behavior, the way they think, the way they act, right? So how a day look like to you?
Probably unpredictable and again messy, and like, you know, when this ended up being true. Once I have 2 masters and a PhD, and I did a lot of research and read a lot of research about human behavior, and it's always very hilarious to me when, I mean, there are so many articles, so many papers, so many complicated models of if you do this and this and this, then. But even that is just in a very controlled lab environment where you can control each variable. Very hard for humans, very hard to say if and then. You cannot. It needs to be a very sterile environment, and very, again, in the lab, to be able to predict what the human is going to do next. So that's I think that was happening to me early on, like, it was like, so how all these variables that create ourselves interact, and as a result of it, our next action is this, when it could have been that. So yeah, the human behavior is fascinating. And I always envy people who do physics or chemistry, you know. My husband is a chemical engineer, and I'm like, your job, it is never going to be so complicated as my job, because working with humans, it's more complicated than anything else. Like when you have a material, a fluid or something, there are some laws of physics and all of that it's clear if then. With human, it's very hard to say if then.